the two presenters have 4 minutes left, so 2 minutes each.
Floating population or the migrants, I think the current latest number is about 220 million. Now, overall floating population is 270 million in China, including city-to-city migration, which is very small, we know that. But 270 million altogether, about 240 rural to urban migrants since about mid-90s. Precisely about 1993, that's when China abolished the rationing system. Because before that, you cannot go to cities because you can't get food. 93, they abolished this coupon system, so they started. So you actually see this sort of in various statistics. I mean, you are right. In the earlier days, they use hukou system or household registration system, but recently they've gone back to the permanent population. So now, to what extent the statistics reflect this change, I don't know. So there's probably some minor sort of misestimation, but it's not going to change the message or the picture. Why not poverty? Well, if you use the word bank, this poverty, actually in ADBI, I worked on poverty issues for 5 years. I was the person who does poverty estimation, inequality estimation for whole Asia, including India. We've been dealing with the Indian statistical agencies and the Chinese statistical agencies as well. I mean, we all know that China is doing much better, not really 40%. China was about 70% poor people by this World Bank standard. Now, the latest is the urban poverty gone down about to zero, by the World Bank, of course, very low, the $1.25. And we actually last year came up with estimate of $1.51 for Asian, which actually caused a lot of publicity globally. I mean, that's the work actually I led. But if you use $1.25, urban poverty gone to virtually zero. Rural poverty is gone to about 12%, from about, nationally about 70%. So it's a big achievement. You are right, it's probably useful. A lot of people are concerned about this China-Indian comparison, but I did write a chapter with Shilo Chatterjee of this another stuff and publishing a book. So if you are interested, can have a look at this, what really happened, between these sort of poverty changes, China and India over the last 30 years or so.
Just to reply to the question about yoga, of course, I'm from Germany originally, and yoga is getting very popular in Germany. I've just taken one yoga class in my life. It was called Power Yoga, and within 1 hour they made us do a lot of things. And when I did the turtle, and she told me breathe in, breathe out, be quiet, I couldn't really feel the benefits yet. So. But maybe you can show me how to do it right. Okay, thank you very much.
With that, I would like to close the session and invite Dr. Rajat Kathuria to present the concluding remarks and the way forward.
Way forward. Purva, may I request you to come up, please? Well, all's well that ends well, yeah, as they say, and if it's not well, that means it's not the end. But all is well. We have concluded our 7th successful G20 conference. I know I stand between you and maybe going back home or going out for dinner. There is dinner, yes? Yes, there is dinner. Please come up, sit. Yeah, sit. You deserve to sit. So I'm going to be really brief on, Ali's concluding remarks of showing the way forward. I don't think I'm competent to show the way forward for the G20, but I can certainly talk about the way forward for ICRIER in terms of the G20 conference. Somebody made a remark yesterday about G20 is languishing as a body, but ICRIER's G20 conferences are going on strong. And I think we will continue to organize G20 conferences, and we've been doing that since 2009. One of them has already come out, one of the conferences, the proceedings have come out in a very a good volume, edited by Chetan, Mike, Callahan, Stephen Pickford, and the fourth author, I think Francis, came out. And I believe, speaking with Springer, who published that volume, it's doing quite well. The shelf life of academic papers is obviously very high, and therefore the volume. We are going to come out with another volume of the 2013 conference, which will be out in the next couple of months, which hopefully will also have a shelf life. So, you know, while we are tracking what's happening at the G20, we are also kind of promoting a kind of discourse on issues that are relevant to the G20. The G20 may not be a body that can, you know, and I won't go through the details of whether G20 is the right body or not the right body, but at least there's a policy discourse that is happening. ICRIER is providing the platform. There's a policy discourse that is happening on issues relating to climate, on issues relating to investment, on issues relating to inequality, on urbanization, on global value chains. So it's a platform. G20 may not be able to, you know, provide solutions, or at least, you know, the way forward for many of these issues. But where G20 has been really successful, and everybody admits that, including in this conference, is in the face of a common crisis that affected most countries. It did a wonderful job in 2008. As a crisis management body, it was very successful. As a crisis prevention body, I mean, obviously there are so many disparate interests within the G20, and G20 is not really G20. It consists of 19 plus all the European members, plus there are observers. So it's a disparate body with different national interests. You only have to go to see what's happening, what will happen with the Fed rate hike. As somebody said yesterday quite eloquently, but he admitted himself, I don't remember who said it, but admitted himself that it was a crass way of saying it, is that Bernanke, when responding to issues of their monetary policy, meeting criticism from Brazil, said that the Brazilian president doesn't vote Congress in power. I mean, that was a crass way of putting it, but essentially underlines the fact that, you know, national interests will often, and more often than not, will trump global interests, and therefore the kind of disparate and the conflicts that we will have. And in all these areas, we will continue to have a conflict. As somebody also said, I think today, India has always seized the opportunity of a crisis in undertaking reform. So crisis is a good time to have reform, and India has done that. Hopefully, you know, our next set of second or third generation reforms can happen without a crisis, but I wouldn't bet on it. But you know, so we will continue our work on G20 because I think it provides policy discourse. And I must acknowledge at this stage our sponsors, and our sponsors have been, you know, with us. They haven't deserted us. And all the sponsors in this conference, International Monetary Fund, Tom Richardson, World Bank, Shubham, Poonam was here, she spoke. ADBI, Dr. Yoshino was here, he spoke at the opening session. Then the last session was also showcase some of the research that ADBI is doing. We had wonderful presentations on urbanization, and of course, Konrad Adenauer Stiftung. They've been with us for the last 9 years, and each of them have supported this conference, both, you know, by providing financial support, which we so sorely need because we are a kind of NGO, non-profit organization, but also with scholarly academic support. So I reach out to them, we reach out to them all the time when we organize this conference, and I profusely and profoundly thank them for having supported this conference. And we will, as I said, we will commit to doing with or without the G20. Hopefully when it moves to China, there will be some renewed kind of efforts. As somebody was saying, that, you know, every country wants to leave a stamp. Australia has got that global infrastructure hub that is soon going to be operational. Turkey has emphasized implementation and social equity. and that is always going to remain a concern. When G20 moves to China next year and thereafter to Germany, we will see perhaps continuation of the existing agenda, but maybe China, one cannot think of what stamp China will leave on the G20. But G20, regardless of whether it's able to succeed in what it's doing, at least provides, as Montek said one year when he spoke at this conference when he was our Sherpa, and I still recall quite vividly, Montek said that even if it is not doing, even if it's a talk shop, at least, people are listening to each other and going back to their respective countries, and then maybe consciously or subconsciously, those features, those facts, those things they learned while talking to each other feed back into their domestic policy in some way or the other. So people are meeting and taking back something to reform or to kind of inform their domestic policy process. So that itself is a positive, but one will of course consider the cost benefit, whether that, as somebody said yesterday, can that be done on video conference? Does that need to take your entire country to Antalya or wherever? Can be done on video conferencing? Hopefully when we get our broadband house in order and our digital house in order, maybe, and when India becomes the presidency, we can think about doing that, but not until our broadband systems improve. But more seriously, I think this was what I thought. I've sat through 3 conferences that we have organized in ICRIER in the last 3 years, and I thought the quality of the discussion in this conference was very, very good. I thank everybody who's been associated with, from the minister to the speakers, people who've come from different parts of the world. I see Chandra sitting here, Harry Burt sitting. I think all the other speakers have left, but in absentia, all of them, thank you very much for continuing to support ICRIER's G20 conference. And as I said, we will continue to work on this. Before I conclude, I must, a special thanks to Purva. And you've been in touch with Purva. All of you have received emails. She's literally, it's like, doing a PhD thesis of always worried. Even when you're going to sleep, you're worried about, is that person coming? Has he confirmed? Has she confirmed? What time is the flight? Etc. etc. You know what it takes to organize an event of this size, of this stature, where people from different countries are involved, and pretty much ICRIER's reputation is also on the line. And Purva, I must say, has come out with flying colors and has met all the tests, litmus tests that were put to her. So thank you very much, Purva, for. And of course, ICRIER has an extremely good team that manages our conferences, manages our event, and some of them you've already met. Manmeet, Kishan, Neha, Rajesh, Sharad. If you're here, please stand up, and we can give you a round of applause. Sharad, Manmeet. And our computer person, Rajkumar. Yes. Besides, Rajkumar does all the troubleshooting for computers. You can rely on him at 6 a.m. in the morning or at midnight. And he's often called, like a doctor, he's called odd hours to help with computer systems. But the average age in ICRIER is about 25. So they're all, very good with technology. But yes, but at the slightly high, at the professor level, it's not so good. So we have to rely upon him for support every now and then. While we were planning for the conference, we reached out to many people to help inspire the sessions, and there are a number of people who helped kind of think about the concept, notes, what are important, what should be discussed, should we have international financial institution reform yet another time, or should we substitute it by, let's say, a new session that we had this time on BEPS, base erosion and profit shifting. So we decided we've done international financial institutions a lot, so let's have BEPS this time. So we, those issues we discussed in-house, and Gemini Bhagwati, who you met, who was chairing a session, helped in putting together a concept note. Shuhaib helped us, especially with the session on, is Shuhaib here? Shuhaib, on, he said, we must have a session on competitive devaluation. I don't know whether he was present when that session was going on, but I think he will at least internalize some of the comments that were made, whether it should be called competitive devaluation or competitive depreciation or just a correction and so on. But good feedback we got in that session. Jeet has been excellent. Jeet, are you here? Jeet has been excellent in support in all the mailers, or doing all the legwork to ensure that this conference has met with the expectations that we set out ourselves in the beginning, and hopefully it has also met your expectations. And last, I must thank the media, who's not here now, but was here yesterday. Thank the media for their, and I think we've got a good coverage in the press today. There's reference to what the secretary said yesterday and what the minister said, and of course Chaya, who takes care of our communications. Thank you to her as well. And of course, last but not the least, all the participants for spending the 2 days with us. Thank you very much. And before we go, I hope all of you will join us for dinner, which is at Maple at 7:30. Thank you once again, and thank you for supporting ICRIER, and see you again next year, inshallah.